Nobody taught me how to scale a career. Nobody showed me how to manage money. And when that first million hit, I damn near fumbled the whole thing because I thought success was the finish line. But that first million, that was the start of a whole different kind of test. Chapter 1, The Climb. Broke wasn't just about money. I didn't grow up around boardrooms, I grew up around survival. And growing up, I knew more about making things stretch than making them scale. We didn't talk about legacy or wealth. We talked about getting by. We talked about keeping the lights on. I was that kid taking on extra chores at 13, watching my mom juggle 2 jobs and still short on Fridays. I was that kid that I was happy with mayonnaise and syrup sandwiches because I knew I had something in my belly. I was that kid that was also raised during the 80s. And during the 80s, we knew there was a drug epidemic. And it was crazy, especially within black communities. I remember stepping outside my front door and right across the street was the drug house. So my mom was able to get her supplies right from the drug house. So when we talk about struggle was there every single day when we opened our door. We were scraping to figure out whether or not we was going to be able to eat for the day. We were scraping to figure out whether or not our lights was going to be on. We were happy as a family if we went with multiple months with our lights and our gas still on. I remember the days we would take our clothes on the bus to the laundromat, your dirty clothes on the bus with you to the laundromat, just so you can wash your clothes and then you will return back that same way. So the struggle was real. That's why I ended up joining the military. I joined the Army because it felt like it was the path for me that actually had structure. It was a way out. I didn't know it then, but that was my first leadership lab. Like turning wrenches on helicopters, learning to follow before I could lead. That uniform taught me how to be precise, how to deliver under pressure, and how to stand tall when everything around you is chaotic. But even when I transitioned out, nobody pulled me aside and said, hey, here's your guide to build a 6-figure career. Here's how you negotiate. Here's what equity means. I stumbled my way into healthcare after starting with various entry-level roles. Started doing sales that windows and siding, going door to door selling windows and siding, and then ended up pivot to the mobile home industry. And I stayed in the mobile home industry for like 7 years, rising through the ranks of becoming a general manager. One of the things that I knew is I was hungry. Like watching everybody else play chess while I was just learning how to keep the board steady, it was interesting. One of the things I was doing was over preparing for every meeting, taking notes, one-on-ones. I was prepping for a final. I showed up early than everybody else, and I stayed later than everyone else. Not for recognition, but because I didn't know any other way to get noticed. That climb, it wasn't glamorous, and it was lonely. And I remember being passed over for a promotion that I'd helped train someone else take. And I remember watching folks with less experience, less hunger, and more privilege fly past me and being told, just be patient. So I stopped waiting for invitations. I created my own opportunities. I took the risks that other people were scared of. I volunteered for projects that nobody wanted. I took contracts out in cities that I didn't even live in because I knew every yes was buying me something that no one else could take. And that's experience, exposure, and a name that meant something in the rooms that I wasn't supposed to be in. And then brick by brick, deal by deal, I built something. And then it happened. That first contract came through, that first equity deal paid out, and then one day I opened up my account and we're talking about all those zeros. I had made it. Well, at least I thought I made it. Chapter 2, The Crisis. Money didn't heal the mindset. Nobody tells you that success can trigger every wound that you thought you had left behind. That million, that didn't make me feel more powerful. At first, it made me feel exposed. Because when you've spent your whole life being the underdog, scraping, proving, grinding, success feels suspicious. I kept asking myself, do I deserve this? What if they find out that I don't really belong? And here's the real. When you get that kind of money for the first time, it exposes everything that you don't know. I didn't have a wealth team. I didn't know how to build systems. I was still operating with a broke man's mentality inside a wealthy man's opportunity. Let me give you an example. The first time I got that huge payout, I didn't invest it. Like I spent it, right? I'm balling, trying to buy peace I hadn't learned how to create. I bought things that I didn't need. I helped folks who wouldn't help themselves. I said yes to every can you help me out because I felt guilty being the only one who made it. And don't get me wrong. Listen, don't get me wrong. I believe in generosity. But if you give from a place of guilt, not structure, you're not helping people. You're enabling them while draining yourself. I was overcommitted and underprotected. I didn't have contracts in place with people that I partnered with. I hired folks based off of vibes, not due diligence. And slowly, I started feeling less like a boss and more like a burnout with a balance. I sit in my office some days and think, how did I get here? And still feel tired. Because what I didn't realize is success is loud, but stewardship is quiet. And I didn't have the discipline to steward what I had built. Well, at least not yet. I almost blew it. Not just the money, but my peace, my health, and the mission. Chapter 3, the clarity, $1 million lessons. I didn't need another check. I needed new mindset. The turning point came when I took a step back and asked myself the hard question. Do I want to be rich for a moment or impactful for a lifetime? And that question, it changed everything. I hired advisors, people smarter than me in areas that I've been winging it. I built a team that challenged me, not just agreed with me. I said no to opportunities that didn't align with where I was going, even when they had big checks attached to them. And I set boundaries, personal and professional. I created no scripts for myself so I wouldn't keep defaulting to people pleasing. I started automating parts of my life that drained my energy. I stopped trying to prove that I was worthy of success, and I started protecting that success so I can multiply it. Let me give you some real tangible moves that I made. I created a monthly money meeting with myself. What came in, what went out, what grew, what flopped. Then I started documenting my processes so my business could run without me at the center of everything. Then I invested in mentorship programs that helped me build legacy, not just income. And then most importantly, I got back to purpose. That's when I created PDP Media. PDP Media wasn't just a pivot, it was a return to what made me get into leadership in the first place, empowering people to build the lives that they're proud of. Chapter 4, final word. Your first million is just the start. The real win isn't the million, it's who you become on the way there and how you lead once you arrive. If you're watching this and you're still in that climbing phase, let me say this. Don't chase the number, chase the habits, the mindset, the systems. That's what keeps the money once it comes. And if you're already at the table, but you're struggling to hold it all together, you're not alone. Nobody tells you how to stay successful when you come from struggle. But you can learn, you can lead, you can build again. You're not late, you're just learning. Listen, here's a call to action. Like this video if you're building something that scares the crap out of you, because that means it's big enough. Subscribe if you believe in legacy over labels. Drop that money bag in the comments if you've ever questioned whether you could handle the next level. Until next time.